Hi, Moral Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a psychological thriller film called Perfume, the story of a murderer. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts off by presenting an adult, Jean-Baptiste Grenouille, in jail, restricted by chains inside his cell. The guards loosen up his chains and intend to lead him outside, where an angry crowd is awaiting for him. Simultaneously, a clerk reads John's sentence to the crowd and announces how his body parts will be broken with a bat, and then he will be hung on a cross until he dies. The crowd gets excited and apparently agrees with John's punishment. In a flashback, Jean-Baptiste is born in the year 1738 in Paris. His mother doesn't want the baby and leaves it on a place full of trash to die. Baby John has a special ability. He is able to smell the scent of everything. The baby couldn't tolerate smelling the odors of fish, pig guts, and puke, so it cries really loud. People hear the baby and find it. John's mother is sentenced to death, and the baby goes to an orphanage. Jean-Baptiste is kept in an orphanage for a while, until he is 5 years old. He couldn't speak at all, but his smell is hyper-developed. He could smell anything: grass, water, trees, apples, even movement. The other kids don't want to become friends with him because they felt uncomfortable with the way John communicates and smells the world. At 13 years old, John is sold to a man who owns a tannery, and he practically makes him a slave. John works hard and eventually grows up to be an adult. His exceptional work ethic makes him stand out, and one day, the merchant takes John to town to sell the merchandise. The event makes Jean happy because his only care in the world is to discover new smells, and the city is a perfect place to take in new experiences through smell. That day, Jean discovers something magical to him: perfumes. Jean is still in the city at night and is drawn to a special girl due to her scent. He follows her, but also creeps her away because he grabs her palm and smells it like there's no tomorrow. The girl runs away, but Jean is able to spot her again. He gets literally drunk by her female energy scent. He sneaks up on her and smells her for a while until she realizes he's behind her. The girl attempts to scream, but Jean covers her mouth. He gets caught up in the moment, and the girl actually dies because she can't breathe. Although she's dead, Jean lays the girl down and tears her dress apart. He smells every inch of her body: legs, genitals, breast, abdomen, everything. Jean is later found by his master and gets a severe beating. The man threatens him that if he runs away again, he will kill him. Jean thinks to himself he needs to find a way to preserve the smells. It's a shame not to be able to smell that intoxicating odor of the pretty girl again. Luckily for him, he has to deliver an order to Mr. Baldini's store. Baldini is a perfume maker who has lots of inspiration and is continuously beaten by the competitor perfume maker of Paris, Pellissier. When Jean walks into Baldini's store to deliver some skins, he is immediately hooked. He makes some observation about the various odors and grabs Baldini's attention. Jean says he can recreate Pellissier's perfume, the one that's been troubling Baldini for such a long time. Baldini is suspicious, but lets him do it. Jean succeeds without even using measurements. Jean comments that it's not a good perfume and adds some elements to make it better. Baldini's pride is hurt and kicks the young man out without testing the perfume. Jean pleads him to take him into work for Baldini, and in exchange, Baldini can teach him how to preserve the smells. Baldini closes the door on Jean's face, but then he tests the perfume Jean created and changes his mind. The perfume is extraordinary. Baldini meets with Jean's master and pays good money to buy him. They start working together, and Baldini teaches Jean the basic theory of perfume production. In addition, Baldini teaches him how to use the complex machinery he has invented in order to distill the smell of things. They first try it with roses, and it works. Jean later tries it with copper, glass, silver, and a cat. Baldini is annoyed and tells him he can't actually distill the smell of everything. He can't distill the smell of a cat or a human. Those words make Jean pass out. They have a doctor to examine him, and he says Jean is going to die soon. Jean wakes up and asks Baldini if there's some other method of distillation. Baldini mentions the method of effleurage, but he doesn't know the secrets of this technique. Baldini lets Jean go free and travel to the city of Grasse to search for this method in exchange for 100 perfume formulas. Unfortunately, Baldini's house collapses on him and he dies the same night. Jean starts his journey and takes a shower under the rain to wash himself of the hundreds of smells resting on his body and clothes. Jean reaches a city and is instantly drawn to the scents of the beautiful young ladies. He starts working in a facility where the effleurage method is used. They use a large tank to boil flowers in animal fat. A series of unfortunate or fortunate events brings Jean's face to face with a beautiful young woman. He kills her and he puts her in the tank, trying to create a perfume out of her. He almost gets caught, but is able to cover up for himself at the last second. The experiment fails, but Jean won't give up. Jean hires a prostitute and tries to have his way with her. She understands he is a weirdo and kicks him out. Jean doesn't leave. He kills her as well. He spreads animal fat all over her body, and after a while, he scrapes the fat off. He does that so that the fat can absorb her scent. He boils the fat in a pot and then distills the perfume out of it. Seems like this time he is happy with the results. He made it. Jean has developed a keen interest in a particular redhead and stalks her house party. She is probably the daughter of a count or a duke. Although they are all grown-ups, they decide to play hide and seek. Jean has the perfect chance and he kidnaps 2 twin women and kills them to produce more perfume. The female bodies are found dead later on, and seems like the killer is not done yet. He kills more and more women and produces more and more perfumes out of different women. He starts mixing those perfumes and producing his own signature perfume, the best work of his life. It's worth to mention he hasn't caused any damage to Laura, the redhead he's most interested in. A man is arrested for the murders, but he is not the right one. Jean is still free and keeps stalking Laura. He eventually intends to kill Laura, but she is saved by the bell, so to speak. Jean doesn't give up on his efforts and attempts to intrude Laura's room. Her father has a hunch and runs to her room. His hunch was correct. Laura is okay, but Jean has escaped and is long gone. Laura's father takes her out of the city. They will temporarily stay in a hotel. Jean traces their scents and goes after them. Laura's dad announces that he has made arrangements and Laura will get married to someone. She doesn't love him, but her father has already made up his mind. Until the marriage takes place, Laura will stay in a monastery so she is safe. In the meantime, piles of hair are found buried deep in the dirt near the perfume production facility. Jean reaches the hotel and just walks into it. Everybody is asleep. He walks into Laura's dad's room and steals the key to her room. He unlocks her door and walks in. He is ready to hit her hard in the head and kill her, but that exact moment, Laura turns around and he is able to look at her face. He lowers his weapon and just stares at her. Laura opens her eyes and looks back at him. She's scared, but doesn't scream. The movie cuts to the next morning. Laura's dad wakes up and finds the key to Laura's room on his desk. He walks into her room and a bright light blinds him. When he's able to see, he sees his daughter lying dead on the bed, with her hair cut just like the rest of the victims. Jean is finally arrested and tortured, hanging upside down. Laura's father asks him why he killed his daughter. Jean says he needs her. Laura's father makes an imaginative description about how he will piss on him, and that will feel like acid to his broken limbs upon the cross. A man is tied on the cross, and an executioner hits him hard with a bat to break his limbs. The crowd cheers and enjoys the pain of the murderer, but this is not Jean just yet. Jean is probably next. We view again the opening scene of the movie. The guards walk into Jean's cell and are ordered to remove his chains. Only this time, we see Jean has snuck something into his palms. The guards unchain him and give him a beating. Jean opens up the little bottle he holds in his hands. The guards look at him in a funny way. A cart brings Jean to the point where the execution is going to take place. Jean steps out of the cart, but he is now well dressed, and the crowd seems to like him. Jean walks to the executioner, and the executioner kneels in front of him, preaching that this man is innocent. Jean puts some of his perfume on a handkerchief and spreads the odor into the air. The head of the priest falls down on his knees and says that this is not a man. This is an angel. All of the crowd is intoxicated, almost drunk by this aroma. They all kneel in front of him. Seems like Jean has created the ultimate perfume. Everybody cheers for him. He lets the handkerchief fly into the air and people fight over it. Who will be the lucky one to have it? People go crazy in a good way. They start smiling and kissing each other, even having sex. That is the power of the perfume. It soon becomes a large-scale orgy. Jean lives in his own bubble and fantasizes about the first girl he killed, a redhead. The vicious cycle of killing started and ended with a redhead. He fantasizes them hugging each other, maybe an attempt to convince himself that all the women he killed would forgive him if they could see what he created. Laura's father approaches Jean with a sword in his hand, shouting, "You don't fool me." But when he gets closer to Jean, he kneels in front of him and tells him, "Forgive me, my son." Needless to say that Jean makes it out alive, but no matter what he does, Jean couldn't fill up his inner emptiness. He possesses the ability to direct people's love and command it, but he couldn't love and be loved like any other person. Jean returns to the place where he was born and decides to end it all. He pours all of the perfume on himself, creating the illusion of an angel into other people's eyes. People love him so much, maybe too much, they get all over him and they eventually eat him out of love. What a way to go out. Subscribe to more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching.